It's insane to me that people hear this but aren't irate, guys. That's what's insane. Get
Yeah.
irate about this. Get irate about it. You know what? I want to bring this up too because it actually pertains to what we're talking about in a roundabout way. I think history always does. We're always intertwined with history, whether we like to admit it or not. Guys, we've been here before. We've been here before. We've actually seen a quicker turnaround in terms of our economy before. We weren't alive. Mickey Doyle might have been alive. He knows I'm kidding. But we weren't alive, certainly, when Herbert Hoover, became president. I wrote a thesis paper on Herbert Hoover, and it's interesting when you look at his tenure as commander-in-chief in this country. We're talking about a guy that inherited a country that was so prosperous financially, coming out of the booming 20s. We had such an amazing era of prosperity, and then all of a sudden, October 29th, the stock market crashes. It triggers a train reaction. Unemployment rises drastically, guys. Prices fall. Banks begin to go out of business. And at first, Hoover and his Republican advisors believed that markets essentially would correct themselves, but Hoover was met with business leaders to persuade them to not lay off workers, to not cut off wages. He initiated higher tariffs, guys and gals, imported goods. He wanted to protect American businesses from foreign competition. From foreign competition. That's where we draw the line. But in 1932, with unemployment over 23% and no sign of improvement on the way, Hoover changed his policy. Once again, he buckled. So this isn't new. The agenda, the political agenda, is something that's been going strong for years. But you have to ask yourself, which side are you on? Because if you're neutral, you're on the wrong side, Del.
Well, back then too, Avi, you had the situation of overpriced, overvalued stocks. It was a house of cards that just
It
came
was.
tumbling down.
It was.
And it was what? It was the 50s, literally the 50s, before the economy ever recovered again
It was.
as a result of that. And
During
so,
the Eisenhower administration, absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So we've seen this before. This isn't the first time this country's experienced something like this, but I'll tell you, it is disgusting. It's disappointing. It's sickening to see that this is what they want to do for the American people. I was told, I read in this bill also to the 600 for the American citizens.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I didn't find this myself. I heard somebody else say it, but illegal aliens could get up to potentially $1,800.
Unreal.
Um, yeah, let that
Unreal.
settle in and think about that.
Unreal. We had, and again, just taking this back, we had the largest peacetime spending program in American history back then. It was called the RFC, guys and gals, Reconstruction Finance Corporation. More than $1 billion available to businesses in the form of loans. You know how much was given to foreign aid, Del? Can you guess the percentage that was actually available to foreign aid back then? And of course, times have changed, and we know why. But we never were against helping out countries that were in need. Do you know how much percentage of that bill was actually available for foreign aid back in 1933?
Have no clue.
Less than 0.6%.
I was going to say around 10, but I thought that might have been way off. So it was.
0.6%, guys. And you know what? At the end of the day, this isn't about helping out foreign countries. This is about, it's the fine print. This is to make sure that we feel powerless and we feel in need of a relief bill that's going to end up crippling our economy. And the sad backstory about this all in a year from now will be that it's the fallout from the Trump administration. That's what bothers me, Del. That's propaganda 101. We haven't seen it yet, but we will.
Oh, that's coming. It's coming. These revisionist history writers, absolutely. You know, think about this. Let's just say $600. What does that do for anybody? $600. That doesn't make a house payment for most people. $600, and they're patting themselves on the back and blowing smoke up our dresses to tell us that they've done something good. $600. That's a little over $10 a week.
I say, and I know you might disagree with me, I say good. 2024, considering his health, we don't know, health notwithstanding. Trump is running again in 2024. This is going to be an issue because people right now are jumping for joy because they're not using logic whatsoever. This is going to be a policy that will be brought up and driven home by the Trump administration, as far as I'm concerned. Why? Because it's logical, and I think there might be a silver lining to this because it's lunacy. As you just mentioned, $600 doesn't cover half of people's rent. Half.
Right.
And we just have a comment here, Kelly Coleman, as I said, that doesn't even cover half my rent. Yes, exactly. There you go. Michael Anthony, yeah, let's thank our viewers. Michael, I want to thank the members of my team. Michael has a great team here that share. Billy, JC, Hector, Michael Barge, Sean Archer, Gus, Kyle, Joel Bateman, Michael Rubin. Thank you all, guys and gals.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Those guys have been with us for the entire time, I think.
Guys, we're going to do some more due diligence about this because I know it was breaking news. We do have a segment I want to get into right now that we haven't explored in quite some time. It's called This Date in History. We do have a fun game that we'll be playing next week, which I've been chomping at the bit for as well. I do want to show you guys the Patreon page because it's being built every day. You don't have to go there yet because the doors have not officially opened. But man, oh man, is there content galore for you guys to explore, and that rhymes purposely. Content galore for you guys to explore. Here is the Patreon channel. I will pull it up right now and show you the screen. And you could tell all of our episodes. We now have over 327. Look at this. December 22nd has been uploaded. Face value. December 22nd, Breaking the Ice. That's been uploaded. Recap show, 21 of December. Unmasking the Truth, December the 20th. Last week's show has been uploaded. December 19th, The Green Room. So on and so forth, Del. Look, this goes all the way down to July 6th. Can you look at these dates over here? This is impressive.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
What a library. What a library, Del.
And we've also started recording stuff for Patreon as well for extra content.
Extra content. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Guys, here's the announcement. Every single podcast is going to have 4 extra exclusive shows that pertain and are linked to the podcast itself in terms of theme. Sometimes there'll be topics we don't delve into. But Unmasking the Truth, essentially, we'll have 4 extra podcasts on the Patreon. So will Maintaining the Truth. So will Face Value, Breaking the Ice, Making Waves, and also Road to Recovery and The Green Room. So what you're receiving is 28 extra shows per month. 28 brand new shows extra that you're getting across the board, along with over 320 old episodes. By the time we open the doors, it might be 400 old episodes. We're talking about merch and autographs down the road as well. Q&As. You're going to have everything you can imagine on the Patreon. So we want to let you know to stay as posted as you can. I will keep you posted. Stay tuned for all of the information. We will keep you posted as the weeks go on. David Cape, another new viewer. Merry Christmas, Del. You guys do an outstanding job with this podcast. Go Cox. There we go. David Cape.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you, man. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. And you're right. Go Cox.
JC's right about something. And right, well, actually, all of you guys are. Joel Bateman, 600 is a total joke because J.C. Farina agrees. My Blazers cost more than $600.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Also, Jonathan O'Dwyer, I can't pull this question up right now, but I promise you, if you remind me, I will bring this up next week, Jonathan. We appreciate your viewership. We're going to be doing right now a segment called This Date in History, which will have something to do with the Patreon because we'll have one history-related show. I know you guys have been asking me. A lot of you have been messaging me about that. Del and I will tackle history once a month on the Patreon, and right now we're going to tackle this date in history, December the 27th. Some things that actually took place on this date, and Del, feel free to comment on any of them as you like. Cut me off. We have, in 1831, on this date, the HMS Beagle with Charles Darwin on board departs England for a survey of South America. It was a voyage, Darwin later said, determined my whole career. And guys and gals, Darwin is being brought up because, as you can tell by the appearance of one Howard Collado, Darwinism does exist. Survival of the fittest. Howard Collado doesn't have it, Del Wilkes.
No, poor old Howard. Bless his heart. He's trying, but you're right, Avi. He does not have it.
No, he does not.
And I'll never sign any document Howard presents me. I'll never support him. I'll never endorse him. Never.
The gall for this man to show up like that with a
and to interrupt a college football segment of all things.
Sacrilege.
Yes.
Sacrilege. Totally sacrilege. Guys, 1932, this date in history, Radio City Music Hall opens in New York City. And Del Wilkes, being raised in New York, I could tell you this, never actually went to a show in Radio City Music Hall in my entire life. Never did.
Well, that makes 2 of us, Avi.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And yes, I do need a haircut, as you guys can tell. I will get one this week. 1937, I guess the original Madonna, Mae West, performs Adam and Eve skit that gets her banned from NBC Radio. I guess I'm not surprised. Mae West was quite the, what's the word I'm looking for here, Del, back then?
She was, she was quite, she was quite something. I'm not sure how to put it, but Mae was come up and see me sometime, big boy. But she made a lot of money. For women in show business back then, she knew how to market herself, and she knew how to create a character or persona.
Sure.
And that's exactly what she did. And then some say that she actually lived that character and persona as well.
Mae West, yeah. 1947, 10 years later. The opposite of Mae West in terms of theme. If you're ever looking for some good old-fashioned television that you could laugh at back then, 1947, first Howdy Doody show, telecast at NBC. Del, reruns of Howdy Doody when you grew up, by any chance?
No, sir. I wasn't a Howdy Doody kid. That may be Howard Collado, but not. No, I was watching stuff with cleats and basketballs and baseballs and footballs. I did watch some cartoons. I mean, and some funny
Which
things.
cartoons did you watch as a kid? Just growing up.
I was a Tom and Jerry, obviously Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Scooby-Doo was a big thing when I was growing up. Obviously non-cartoon, but the Little Rascals, even though they were much older, they came along before I was born.
Sure.
But they were still popular then. And of course, who could go wrong with the Three Stooges? I love the Three Stooges. That's good stuff right there. I can still watch the Three Stooges.
Let's break away, guys, from the format over here. Which was your stooge? Who was your stooge?
It's a tie. It's close. I'm going to go Shemp or Curly. Probably Curly by a nose. Curly was pretty athletic. He could move. He was light on his feet to be a big guy. So I would go Curly by a nose over Shemp.
Kind of the original John Belushi, Chris Farley, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Ahead of his time. Yeah.
Freddie Fargo, I hope everyone in America right now is enjoying an after cigarette right now because guys, we were bamboozled. Freddie Fargo was telling us as a country, sure. Popeye. Bebop like Popeye. There you go.
Bebop, I did too. Popeye was still around back then. It was amazing how he was always Brutus or Bluto was always threatening to beat him up, and Popeye was defending one of the ugliest women I've ever seen in my life. I never could figure out how Popeye could not smarten up. And
you got to admit that definitely epitomizes someone who has a good-natured soul about him and a heart, because he was defending someone who essentially Dell is saying was a hag.
Woo!
Olive oil.
But that's got to be true love, brother, when you're willing to risk life and limb for olive oil.
Guys, we unmasked the truth, so I'm going to be honest over here. I don't care. Shelley Duvall played a great olive oil. I got to tell you,
she did. Yes, she did. Absolutely, I totally agree.
Would have cast anybody else. J.C. Farina, who remembers Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse? That's from J.C. Farina. I vaguely do. Pepe Le Pew, guy right here. Pepe Le Pew.
Freddie, I watched that as well. I'll tell you another one I liked, especially being a Southern guy, was I liked Foghorn Leghorn. He was a big, loud, abrasive, rude, braggart chicken. But, us folks in South Carolina like gamecocks. We're sort of fond of chickens. But quite the rooster he was.
Quite the rooster, guys. He reminds me a bit of that Davis Jubilee sort that we see on the green room. Joel Bateman's laughing. Courageous Cat and Villain the Frog. There you go. Those are some old classics that you guys are bringing up. You remember them. We will continue this date in history right now, so moving along. Let's talk some sports. 1953, National Football League Championship. Yes, the NFL Championship. Briggs Stadium, Detroit. Detroit Lions beat the Cleveland Browns 17-16 to retain the title. And I'm saying this seriously. It's a shame there isn't footage of that game. Really is.
Avi, there were two great quarterbacks that I'm pretty certain that were a part of that game. One of them won 10 championships, and a guy named Otto Graham. Listen, I agree. I love Batman and Robin as well. Another one was a Texan that quarterbacked the Detroit Lions, a guy named Bobby Lane. Bobby was a good-looking guy, good-looking blonde-headed guy. He was a great athlete. He had a swagger about him. And Bobby lived hard. Bobby played very hard. Bobby lived hard, partied hard off the field. The great Art Donovan once told a good story about Bobby Lane. Art was used to appear on David Letterman and Johnny Carson. He was a big guy that could tell good stories. Yeah, he played for the Baltimore Colts back with Unitas.
Sure.
And Art swears up and down that they were playing the Detroit Lion team with Bobby Lane at quarterback. And he said he sacked Bobby in the second half. And he said, man, he just reeked of alcohol. And he said, man, Bobby, he said, you must have had a long night. He said, no, I had a couple at halftime. So that's the kind of player Bobby Lane was, and I'm sure he was on that '53 Detroit Lions team.
Oh man, that's an amazing story. Yeah, and you know what? Anything linked. Art Donovan was a great storyteller, man. I remember him
Wonderful
showing up.
storyteller.
Yeah.